It's my pleasure to introduce our speaker for today, Reverend Sharon Solomon. Sharon has been part of the Fellowship of the Inner Light since 1975 and is the wife of the late Paul Solomon, founder of our fellowship. Through the years, Sharon has held many positions at the fellowship, from upkeep of our physical structure to the keeper of the vast storehouse of the works of Paul Solomon. Sharon is an inner light consciousness guide, and she facilitates online groups and is a guiding force to the young people of our fellowship. She is the chairman of the Pastoral Council, a member of the Fellowship Board of Directors, and in past years, she taught with Paul Solomon all around the world and now travels often to Japan to share the inner light consciousness teachings and the Paul Solomon readings. Sharon has a deep connection to the wisdom contained in the Paul Solomon source material, and she expresses it with enthusiasm. She shares the teachings or takes us through the 7 terraces experiences, and it's like, gives us new life. This material is so vital, and I'm so blessed every time she shares it. This morning, Sharon will begin an introduction to the altar, and then following that, we will participate in the ritual of magnetizing the altar and the blessing of this sanctuary. Let's open our hearts and minds today to today's message and invite Sharon to the podium.
I invite the servants of the Almighty to join us here. And when we did our meditation this morning, Larry Jennings, who see these things on other planes, said they're already here. So acknowledge them and feel them, and we have lots of help from the other side. And I also want to take this time to acknowledge that our teacher, Paul Solomon, who brought us all together, began the fellowship in 1972, 53 years ago. And I also wanted to acknowledge today some of the people who have sustained this fellowship for all these years. Bruce Shelton, Jerry Teplitz, Sarah Anderson, Susan Thomas, Larry Jennings, Lloyd Kramer, John Alston, Robert Titcomb, Carol Steinberg. And then I want to say everybody comes to the fellowship at the exact time they're supposed to be here. So I want to thank all of you who are keeping this fellowship going, and we'll keep it through many years more. We pray and believe. Each time you think a thought, it produces electricity. The nature of the electricity or the energy it produces is peculiar to the nature of the thought. When you have happy thoughts, it has joyous electricity. It produces an energy of happiness and love. In this moment, you are surrounded with the energy of the combined thoughts of everyone in this room. In addition, you are in the midst of the thoughts that have been produced in this room for nearly 50 years, or more than 50 years, that the fellowship has conducted worship services here. Think about the moment you entered this building. Did you feel a change in the atmosphere? If you were still for a moment, I think you probably did. Most of the time, we are busily and happily greeting one another as we enter here. But just for a moment now, become still and feel the energy around you now. Now focus on the person on your left for a moment. Feel that person's energy. And now focus on the person on your right. Notice the difference. We are sensitive to the energies around us. Now, one of the purposes of an altar is to focus and amplify that energy. Each year, when we magnetize our altar, we renew its potency. An altar is a window into the unseen world. And we ask that more of the love and light centered there is brought into our physical reality. Now, that cannot be measured. Empirical science wants to test things. But the metaphysical universe cannot be measured in physical terms. It is of another realm, another dimension. We can't test it, but we can feel it. Paul Solomon created a ritual based on Kabbalah, the mystical teachings of ancient Judaism, to magnetize our altar. The purpose of ritual, any ritual, is to reach into the unseen world and bring in potency, power, amplitude, light, love, truth, beauty, peace into the physical universe. According to the Kabbalists, there are 4 worlds: emanation or illumination, creation, formation, and action. The first world, Atziluth, is only light, total unity, the Tao. There is no duality, no black and white, right and wrong. In ancient Israel, it was said that on special occasions, when the high priest came to pray, God reached down into the physical plane and communed with the people. When the children of Israel went into the wilderness, they reached a point in their history, an experience that is perhaps similar to a point in our lives today, or actually any time when you were living on this planet. They made contact with God through Moses, and God began to teach them the way out of the wilderness of confusion, the way to construct a new body, a new mind, a new life, so that they could manifest the divine teachings in themselves. They were instructed step by step inside an enclosure called a tabernacle that contained the most precious things that Israel possessed. There was a second enclosure where only the priests of Israel could enter, and a third place called the Holy of Holies, where only the high priest of Israel entered once a year. It represented the contact between God and man. About 2,000 years later, Jesus Christ came and taught that contact with God is not only available to the high priest, but God can speak with all of his children, individually and personally. Not only that, but in the words of the Fellowship Credo, a gift to those who become aware that it is love that gives life and light is to the ability to know themselves to be sons and daughters of God. We believe that at least once in the life of Jesus the Christ, man has so perfectly expressed God as to be love personified and God incarnate. The Fellowship of the Inner Light has no doctrine or dogma. We are interfaith with the belief that at the origin of all religions and cultures that have lasted through the centuries, there was a contact with Source, God, truth, love. If we can understand that point of contact, we can know more of God. So our prayer to Source is, I want to get to know you better. We can enter into time of communication with Source of our being in many ways. One description of what we are looking for in spiritual growth is moving through a spiral of becoming. We use the term spiral because What is happening within us is a miniature of what is described as what is happening within the cosmos as a whole, or as Hermes Trismegistos phrased it, as above, so below. There is an ancient description of an involution or moving of the soul from source into matter, becoming fascinated with matter, turning its back on source, then remembering that there was something more and re-identifying with what it was in the beginning, returning to source again in a spiral to a higher place than it was in the beginning. This is the story of all of creation, from being with God in the beginning, the involution, to the evolution and returning to God in higher terms. The spiral of creation continues, and the purpose of ritual is to reach into the world of illumination, as the Kabbalists describe, or the Tao, source, the Father, from which we came in the first place. As we continue our process of evolution, we then take from the world of emanation quanta of light called photons. Photons are neutral. They have neither positive or negative electrical charge. There is no duality. As soon as we have a thought, a question, a need, we descend from the fourth world to the third world of creation, Bria, the beginning of duality. Suddenly, the light has yin or yang. In magnetizing our altar, we ask to cleanse the vibration of this room, or the vibration of our home altar or meditation room, and our own consciousness. Force interacts with form, which brings us into the third world of formation, Yetzirah. That interaction produces a yield, Asya, action, the physical universe. The process of conception and impregnation cause a birth. We can bring all this down to the promise of Jesus Christ, who said, "Ask and it shall be given you, seek and you shall find, knock and the door shall be opened unto you. For everyone that asks shall receive, and he that seeks will find, and to him that knocks the door will be open." That's from Matthew 7 and 8. What we are doing in this ritual is bringing this into this earth, love, light, peace, joy, the Christ. This is a marriage of heaven and earth. To participate in this ritual in your life today, as you read the words of the ritual with us, this is what you can do. The words we use are commandments that we are sending up to the world of illumination, to creation, formation, and then to action. I fill myself totally from bottom to top with pure love, unconditional love, truth, and light. I ask that everything unlike life, love, truth, and light in me will pour out. I ask that only love, nothing but love, exists in me. I am cleansed. In describing this ritual, we are using a powerful occult formula of evocation, invocation, and dismissal. Evocation means to bring from within myself love, light, life, and truth in every way that I know how. This evocation brings to me the ability to invoke or to call into myself love, light, truth from the world of illumination or emanation. Then I dismiss, give no importance, to drop, forget, leave behind everything that is not love, light, and truth. I evoke, invoke, and dismiss all these inside myself, and for the altar, for the room, and to the extent that it's possible, even for the world. This is my prayer. Now, Paul Solomon's teachings are always practical. He taught us that this earth is a school of the mysteries, and the fellowship of the inner light is a school within the school. And the first law, or highest order, of this particular mystery school of the fellowship of the inner light is that you are not a victim. This is the foundation upon which all things are built. As you study the teachings of Paul Solomon, as you study inner light consciousness, you will grow more sensitive. And the teachings say that as you become more sensitive, you also become more responsible. That is, if you can feel anything, you can change anything that you feel. If you can sense, feel, be sensitive to an energy, you can change it. It does not change unless you decide to. You are in charge of you. You are not a victim. People come to me and others and talk about how sensitive they are and how they are filled with pain because of the energy of others around them. That is victim consciousness. If that is happening to you, make a decision right now. If I can feel it, I can change it. If you sense that this room, any room, was filled with terrible energies, understand this. That was the way it was a few seconds ago. Now, this room is filled with joy because I have created it. Are you ready to take that kind of responsibility? We need people in the world who will take that kind of responsibility. So today in this ritual, we begin this process. We are reaching up into the world of light, of illumination, because we feel the need. I need to bring light into this world of thought and action. As I lend my energy to magnetize this altar, I transform myself into all that I can be. I take the next step in my spiritual growth, and I give thanks. We call this ritual the marriage of heaven and earth, and the fellowship logo, which you can see here above the altar, is a manifestation of the elements of this ritual. The altar is bringing together 4 elements: earth, air, fire, and water. The blue triangle is heaven, the Father, reaching down to us. The brown triangle is your life force reaching upward. The interaction has created a body, half on earth and half in heaven, or body, mind, spirit. Your brain has 4 lobes, each of which represents an aspect of the Fellowship Mystery School and aspects of your life. One lobe is the Temple Beautiful, representing beauty and aesthetics. One lobe is the Temple of Initiation, representing all things spiritual, uplifting, inspirational. It is the part of you that reaches up to God and wants to be one with Him. One lobe is the Temple of Sacrifice, representing healing and science. And one lobe is the Temple of Abundance and Prosperity, representing garden, caring for and healing the earth. So this marriage of heaven and earth, the heavenly reach down to earth and the earth reaches up. Between them is the inner light, the lamp of wisdom and enlightenment. And after saying all this, perhaps the most important teaching is this. We'll repeat from the Paul Solomon source and the inspirational reading from today. The establishing of a true altar is seen in the life of one who, leaving the time of devotion, then goes, wasting not a word nor an action, but accomplishes then the fulfillment of a day, so that each day in the life becomes an investment in being productive as an aspect or a cell in the body of God in earth. Thank you.